This episode may contain stories of domestic violence. Please be advised. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, where each week we sit down with people just like you who have left abusive relationships and found healing. Don't forget to check out our website, sage.community, because together we can survive abuse with grace and empathy. Now sit back and get comfortable. The Sage Advice Podcast starts right now. Hey everyone, it's Erin here. Thanks for coming to this week's episode of the Sage Advice Podcast. Today, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about what it feels like to get triggered. A lot of us have flashbacks. A lot of us have a change in our mental health when an abusive relationship ends. And it's something that I've actually been struggling with a lot lately. And so I wanted to come on and talk about the realities behind leaving an abusive relationship. We've talked a little bit in the past on past episodes about how healing isn't linear. You have really good days, and then you have really bad days. And it's something that for a while I fought. It almost felt like my brain was broken in a way. You kind of go to this numbing place where you just want to stare at the wall all day. And there's not necessarily an explanation why. Sometimes it's literally a tiny thing that somebody said, a sign that you saw that can totally just affect your mood and drag you down and make you be a different person for a little while. I'm not really going to go into all the details about what's going on now, but I think it's important to talk about what it is like being triggered, and I hope sincerely that it gets better as time goes on. But I'm two years out, and it's still something that I'm dealing with. So I figured a lot of people might be dealing with that, 2 years down the line as well. So I wanted to kind of go through a timeline of what my healing journey has been like in case it helps anyone. So, right away, a lot of the energy that I was feeding off of was adrenaline. Everything's changing. You have no stability. You've got to hurry up, get your stuff, get out. Then you're constantly worried about being followed or what's going to happen next or when it's all going to end. And so there's almost not enough time to process what's happening in reality or the changes that stress is going to do to your brain. In case if you do develop PTSD in the future, whatever varying form of PTSD that is, it's adrenaline when you hit those first 6 months, or so, or however long it lasts. And people's, separating their relationships can last a year, 2 years. Some people, 6 months, some people right away. So, for me, that adrenaline state where I never felt calm and was on kind of a Mach 10, that lasted for about 6 months. And then I've said it before, but it was like I got sucked up into a tornado and spit out. I mean, I got sick. I got physically sick. It's like my body had been holding on to all that stress. That's when I started seeing Rachel a lot because my body was just breaking down. And slowly, I had thought that my, mental health was doing okay. I thought, that I was doing pretty well. And I just started to go into these depressions more regularly, but they weren't that long. I was diagnosed before with PMDD. It's, for those of you that don't know, that's premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or basically premenstrual depression, which causes depression and anxiety for the 2 weeks leading up to your period. And so for the guys out there, bear with me. And so you have to take medicine for those 2 weeks to kind of balance out the hormones. So I've always been very conscious of that shift. And it's worse than just PMS. It's like bringing you to just a whole other state of being. But then once your period starts, you pop right back out. I wanted to talk about that because I've actually had friends where I've explained what, PMDD is, and then they realize that they have it, and then they can go on medication to get better and stop, for that to stop happening. But this depression was a little bit different, and it definitely went in waves. And I didn't really know how to handle it. As we got closer to New Year's, so that would be 8 or 9 months out, that was probably the darkest time that I had. It was after New Year's, beginning of the year, where I actually thought maybe I need to go into a facility. There's this desperation to just feel better, and you just don't think anything's going to get better. And so the after effects really hit me around that time, and I was just in desperate need of a change, something different, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to learn. My friend who lives in England, I knew that they do give you time off for mental health issues. I tried to look up FMLA. I mean, that's how desperate I was. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we do that here. And so it was just do I need to leave my job? Do I need to do anything differently just to sit and be still and calm my mind and try to get my life back together? Well, lo and behold, COVID came, right at the height of my desperation. And I know for a lot of people, and for myself too, it caused some mental health issues. But for me, it was the quiet that I needed to kind of try to rebuild myself. And so as I went into the summer, I started talking to a new guy and thinking maybe I was ready to either start entertaining the idea of dating again. And I didn't know if things would come up, if I would get triggered. At the time, I didn't like to use that word triggered because I honestly didn't understand what that meant. I mean, I thought it just was like, oh, you're having a bad day. Why are you calling it triggered? But the very first, or not the first, but the biggest wake up for me was when I was hanging out with this new guy, and I had brought my dog and a friend's dog to his house, and we left the dogs in the house, went out, came back. It was the middle of the day, and I couldn't find one of the dogs, and he couldn't find his phone. So he asked me where I had put it when I was packing up the beach chairs, because we were on the beach. And I immediately panicked. Totally, seemingly innocent question for him. But for me, that was something I would have gotten into a 7-hour fight with my ex. That put me on alert and on edge right away, because in my previous relationship, I would have been screamed at for misplacing the phone, losing the phone, not knowing where the phone was, and it was my fault because I was just the worst, and I wasn't organized, and I had no memory, and I didn't care about him, would have gone into all of that stuff. And so he left to go find his phone. I go back to find the dogs. And first I find my dog, who's acting quite weird. And then I hear a noise, and the other dog is locked himself somehow in the bathroom. So I open the door, get the door shimmied open, and go inside, go to the bathroom, realize that he had destroyed some of the trim on the house. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, he's going to come back. I hope he doesn't scream at me. Like, I couldn't handle him screaming at me. And it wasn't even that I thought he would, right? He's a different person. I know he wouldn't scream at me. But it was a fear of the unknown of what was impending that got me, frazzled to begin with. Well, then I get out of the bathroom and I walk past the guest room and I smell a really strong stench that I would come to find out was the diarrhea that my dog had sprayed all over the bedroom and the mattress, the carpet, the walls, because he had a thing about eating sand, or he was nervous that his best friend got locked in a bathroom. I'm not really sure, but flash forward to me in gloves, sobbing, trying to clean poo out of a carpet. And sobbing because I was so scared of what was going to happen when he came home. And he finally did. He found his phone. And actually, I think I found his phone. It was in the cooler where he put it. But he came in and just was so sweet and so nice and lovely and brought me a towel to clean my face and all the snot that was coming out of my nose. It was very sexy as I'm sitting there with gloves trying to scrub poop out of everything. And I was just shaking, and I cleaned myself up, and he just sat on the couch and held me while I was shaking. And that was so special and so important to me, and not everybody would do that or be so understanding. And I think that speaks to his character. But I also think it was a good story to tell that problems continue, like problems rise as we go through these relationships, and we're learning about new people. He and I have definitely triggered each other on certain things that really didn't have a lot to do with us individually. They have to do with somebody else. So I think it's important to talk about that when you enter new relationships, whether they're new friendships or new romantic relationships, that they can be very triggering, and it is okay because everybody has dealt with that. Currently I'm having some issues, now it's been 6 more months and I've been pretty good through the 6 months, but I'm learning now that when I endure something, in my professional life or my personal life that's really high stress, there's a part of my brain that just goes, oh no, this is an overload. We're not going to do this right now. And just kind of puts me on a path of frenzy, followed by wanting to just lay in my bed and stare at the wall. And I've been feeling pretty guilty about that because I started this community and I feel like I haven't been able to give it my all and give it all the attention that I always intended to give it. But I've been trying just to focus on me and my mental health and trying not to be so mad at myself about the fact that my brain isn't completely better and it's maybe not broken. I feel like it's broken sometimes, but maybe it's just different than it used to be, and it's going to take some adjustments, some time, more meditation. I've been trying to add a morning and an evening practice back into my repertoire. But I wanted to be open with you guys about dealing with that because I think a lot of, Mary Beth was on a few weeks ago and talking about how there were issues she didn't deal with and they came up down the road. She was triggered by different actions and different things. And my intent today is really just to normalize that for everybody who's listening. I don't think we talk about it enough, or, we might say I got triggered by that, but not really say what that means. It's not a fun thing. It's a desperate feeling to be triggered, just to feel like you're, once again, you have no control and there's no way out, and your brain just kind of goes to a sad place. But I wanted to talk about it. I want to make it more of a conversation, and I wanted to be open with you guys and hope that you listen and share with anybody who might need it, who is having some issues with, triggering of past experiences. And I hope you find somebody who wipes your face when you're cleaning dog poop, because that was really lovely and very helpful. But until then, share your stories with us either on the podcast or, individually in private. Let us know what's going on with you and how we can help. We got workshops up. We've got guided meditations up, as well as our one-on-one mentorships. So just go to the website, sage.community, and talk to us. We really want to hear from you. We really want to help. And we hope that you will join us here on the podcast or in one of the sessions as well. I am also doing an open invitation for anybody that is a writer who thinks that they have something good to say and they want to they have a unique voice and they want to write something for the website. I'd love to talk to you about that. So just contact us, hello@sage.community, or on all the social media. So hang in there, anybody who's going through a rough time, anybody who's getting triggered lately. We're here for you. I'm here for you. And we're all going to get through this together. All right. Have a great rest of your week and talk to you later. Bye. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or if you're willing to share your story, please email us at sageadvicepodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, remember, when you're kind to yourself, the healing can begin. See you next time.
This show was brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.
If you or someone you love is in immediate danger, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. For more information, please see the resources tab at sage.community.